Morning, fabulous Fox and Hare members. How are we all? How are you, Glenn? How are you, Courtney?
Good morning, Liam. Good
Good.
morning, Glenn.
Productive morning.
Very nice. What have you got done already, Glenn?
A lot of spreadsheets, a lot of tax conversations, a few baby conversations, and property. So, all in a day's morning.
As always, property and babies seem to be common themes. So, everybody, just a little heads up. We are going to give the rest of our amazing members a couple more minutes to file into the webinar. We're going to give them 2 minutes or so, I think. And then once we think we've got as many people as we can, we will get started. A little bit of chit chat to get us going, I think. Glenn, do you have any feedback or anything from the any standout moments from the past year that you'd like to share while we wait?
God, let's kick off in about 60 seconds because I'm just conscious of everyone's time. It looks like we've got a lot of familiar faces. So we've got Brianna, Ashley, Ansha, Matt Forrester, Matt Hebden. Thank you all for coming along this morning. God, look, the beginning of the year's been pretty full on for us. We are a New Year's resolution, so we often get a lot of people reach out saying, "This is the year that I'm going to get my financial shit sorted." So it's been a big start to the year, but an exciting one nonetheless.
Exciting. Anything from you, Cort?
Yeah, about the same. I mean, this has really been my focus, this project, and the reason you're all here today has been the focus for the start of the year, and I'm really excited to get more into it today.
Perfect, perfect. So I think that may be a very good segue for us to get started. We will take Glenn's 60 seconds and not his 60 minutes to get started, Q. So really the purpose of today's webinar is to provide a nice and transparent look for everybody who's on the call at our new membership structures. We really want everybody to understand the changes that have been made and how they're going to support you to achieve your goals and progress on your financial journey. We will have a Q&A at the end, but as we are moving through the conversation, if anything does pop up, please drop it into the Q&A. Please drop it into the chat. If we don't answer it straight away, we will do our very best to get to it right at the end there. I know that Glenn has
Hmm.
something on at the end, so there will be a bit of a hard ending there for him, but we will try and get everything sorted that we can. And with that, Pot, would you like to get started? Why do we have these fabulous new memberships?
Yeah, so before we get into the nitty-gritty, a brief bit of background into why we are where we are today. Fox and Hare turned 8 in October last year. So we have now been around for 8 years. And through that period, we operated quite organically. And that worked really, really well for our members. It meant that we could deliver the service that they wanted on the terms that they wanted. But as we've grown, we found that that meant there was sort of differences in the services that our members was receiving. We received a lot of feedback from you about how you wanted your membership to operate. And
Hmm.
so we took a step back, we consolidated all of that feedback, and we sat down and we went, okay, well, how can we deliver a really clear, proactive, engaging service to everybody and make sure that everybody is getting an incredible service. So that's sort of the background, and why we are where we are today is because of all your great feedback.
In terms of today, I think it'd be worthwhile talking through a broad agenda. So I'm going to be sharing with you the various the programs and what's included in those programs, what our strategic review cycle will look like. We're going to talk through the differences between the programs, and as Court rightly noted, really encourage questions throughout this morning's session or this afternoon's session. We have already provided, it's quite a bit of correspondence, through the portal, but wanted to make this as interactive as possible. So without further ado, Court, do you mind sharing the screen? And what I'll start with is actually talking through each of those programs and what's included. So we've got the foundation program, we've got the plus program, and we've got the premium program. So first and foremost, what's included, and just as importantly, what's not. Again, reflecting on feedback that we received through multiple focus groups, which a number of you I can see that have dialed in today attended, as well as feedback on an ongoing basis. So we've got three distinct programs: Foundation, Plus, and Premium. So the first element is around the advice that's covered within each of those programs. So as you can appreciate, with that Foundation program, it is looking at all of those, I suppose, foundational elements, for want of a better word. So cash flow, tax, super, debt, insurances, investments, estate planning. So a lot of what we would have discussed with each of you over the course of your journey with Fox and Hare. The Plus program that includes those that are seeking advice on employee share schemes. So that's restricted stock units, that's employee share option plans, that's employee share purchase plans, and also for those that have multiple investment properties. So if you were to have the one investment property, you could still choose the Foundation program, but if you were seeking advice on multiple investment properties, then you'd sit within that Plus program. For our premium members, that's really the all-inclusive program, as the name alludes to. So this is where we're having conversations around trust structures, companies, self-managed super funds, and we're looking at potentially more, I guess, complex equity structures. So often for those that are self-employed, sometimes that's an avenue we go down. So the advice that's covered within each of those programs is the first component. The second is the strategic review. Now, Court's going to delve into this in more detail because there's quite a lot of, although there's one strategic review, there's a number of components that make up that strategic review. For our Foundation members, that's annually. And if you're thinking about, okay, well, when is that? It's essentially 12 months in from when you originally came on as a Fox and Hare member. If you're looking at those, the Plus program, so that's biannually. So, every 6 months, we're having that full strategic review. For our Premium members, it's on a quarterly basis. In terms of the modelling, so the modelling piece is something that we've been doing a lot of work in the background to build upon. We get a lot of questions around, if I did this, what would that look like? If I did this, what would this look like? And what we've done now is created different modeling options based on the program that you pick. And I want to emphasize that comment around the program that you pick. We've designed it in such a way that it's important that you pick the program that you feel you're going to get the most value from based on each of these underlying components. Touching on what the basic modelling is, so it's essentially that modelling that you all would be familiar with through this current statements of advice. So in the back of your statement of advice, you'll have projections around what your investments will look like in 10 years' time, what your debt position will look like in 10 years' time, what your superannuation position will look like in 10 years' time. So it's looking at all the various components, assets, liabilities, and giving you an insight based on lots of assumptions, noting that all of our worlds change quite consistently, but giving you an insight in terms of what the impact of the advice is having on that future state. In terms of the scenario analysis and more complex multi-entity modeling. So this is available to our Plus and Premium members. So one of the big advantages of the software that we moved to about 12 months ago, and for those that have been members for longer than 12 months, you would remember that we did transfer to a new platform. The data that you're providing us through your respective portals now enables us to do much more in-depth modeling. So when I refer to scenario analysis, what does that mean? What that enables us, the data that you provide and the software that we're now using, rather than giving you kind of straight line forecasting, so in 10 years, this is what your investment will be. In 10 years, this is what your super will be. We'll now be able to start looking at situations where, if your income were to increase, and we invested those additional funds, what would that portfolio would look like? If you wanted to start, say in 10 years' time, you wanted to retire early and you wanted to start drawing on that portfolio that you've created, could you maintain the lifestyle that you've become accustomed to. If you wanted to work out based on current trajectory what your super balance would be, and again, if you'd be able to maintain lifestyle that you've currently got through your retirement, we could now do that analysis through the tool that we've embedded in the background, and those on our Plus and Premium programs will start to see come to fruition. So the Plus program, what we essentially will be doing, we'll be saying, okay, based on the strategy that we've put forward, this is what the outcome of that strategy would be. For our premium members, naturally involving trusts and companies and self-managed super funds, it's not just an individual or a couple. We're now talking about multiple entities that we need to be factoring into the modeling. But also, our premium members get access to unlimited modeling. So if they're wanting to stress test all different types of outcomes and analysis, that's something that we'll be able to deliver for those premium members, acknowledging the time. And it is quite time consuming to put these analysis, quite in-depth analysis together, but it's something that we've heard is really important to a number of our members, so we wanted to make that available for those Plus and Premium members. On an ongoing basis, we're going to continue to provide administrative support. So this is across all three programs. This is something that, being really transparent, is not something that we've been very vocal about. It's something that we've always done, but some of our members take us up on the opportunity, others do not. So what does administrative support mean? So if you change addresses, or you need to update details with your insurer, or you need help updating details with a super fund, or all of those administrative things from a financial perspective, we will support you in doing that across all three programs. In terms of the advice on an ongoing basis, so for those as part of our Foundation and Plus programs, we will be delivering written, formal, personal advice as part of that strategic review. So for our Foundation members, it's on an annual basis. For those that are looking where their circumstances may change on a bit more of a frequent level, they're looking for additional written advice, then that Plus program may be more appropriate. For our premium members, it is on demand. So acknowledging the sometimes added complexity with our premium members, we will be providing advice on demand as their circumstances change. In terms of the portal, so that is available to all of you. All of the data that you provide us through the portal is what feeds the advice. There's a lot of development going on in the background with regards to the portal. So we've heard your feedback. We've taken that on board. There's going to be a new wave of releases coming in 4 to 6 weeks' time. So that's a consistent piece of software that we're really investing in. The final component is the community events. So although I refer to us as a 99% virtual business, again, we've heard from a number of you that community and that more consistent connection with fellow Fox and Hare members is something that's really important to you. So for our Foundation members, you'll be able to access the online community, which we're currently developing, and also webinars that we do currently and will be increasingly delivering. Our Plus members will also have access to in-person events. Our premium members will also be putting on much smaller, more tailored premium VIP events as well, acknowledging the program. So this is a very high-level overview of the three programs. So the Foundation, the Plus, and the Premium. Would encourage any questions that are coming through as I talk through that. But I think a big part of this is around that strategic review process. So, Court, do you want to delve into that in a bit more detail?
Yeah, I'd love to. Liam, could we go to the next slide, please? Thank you. So as Glenn alluded to, the strategic review process is really the heart of our memberships. And the process that our members go through will be the same for all membership options. It's the number of times this process happens through the year that changes across the memberships. So when we engage in our four-part strategic review, we start with our goal assessment. We then move on to our progress report. We have our strategy development meeting, and then we deliver advice. And obviously, implementation is a part of that. So, our goal assessment meeting, the purpose here really is to take stock on where you are. So, it's looking at the goals that were set last time we caught up with you. How are you tracking towards them? Are they still relevant? Has anything changed in your life that impacts the goals that are already set? And then looking forward, what's now important to you? How has your life changed? How has your sort of values and your circumstances impacting what you want to do moving forward? And we're really setting those goals and taking a pulse check on where you currently stand. Once we've done that, that gives us a really good insight into where you are. We can start working in the background on, potential strategic changes. We can take stock of your portal and all the data that you've given us and look to plan for your strategy development meeting. Before we move ahead to the strategy development meeting, we give you what's called a progress report. And Liam, I might get you to move forward just to give our members an insight into what that looks like. So the progress report gives you a point in time snapshot of where you are, basically. So it shows you the goals that you discussed with your associate in the goal assessment session. Liam, if you can scroll down. It gives you a snapshot into your net worth. Liam, can you scroll down a little bit more for me? So your assets and liabilities, keep going. How your net worth is changing over time. And again, that's a snapshot based on how you update the portal. So you can see that updating the personal finance portal is really key to this. Keep going. If you have property, it'll include some property reports, some insights into whether it's your own property, perhaps a rental property, perhaps a suburb that you're looking at buying into. Keep going for me, Liam, a couple of pages. Oh, okay. That's it. That's our full snapshot. At the end of the report, we also let you know how we think you're tracking towards your goals. So that will give you an insight into whether or how important we think it is that you move forward to the strategy development meeting. Obviously, there are times where, we're looking into things and everything is tracking really well. And if we don't think you need the strategy development meeting, we'll let you know everything's under control. We've looked at things. And unless you really want to have your strategy development meeting, no pressure to go ahead with it. So in that report, you'll get the option to move forward to the strategy development meeting or not. Either way, to this point, you've spent 15 minutes with your associate, and we've, in the background, looked into your position. We've analysed all of your investments, your superannuation, and we've looked at how you're tracking in the background.
And I think it's worth calling out there, Claude. Like a lot of the feedback that we received was our members want to understand how they're tracking towards their goals. So, statement of advice is very much factual. It's specific advice. It's based on change in circumstances. So, we've developed this progress report to ensure that each of you can see, okay, this is where we were, 6 months ago, 12 months ago. Are we heading in the right direction? Is that line going up?
Spot on, exactly right. So once we've moved from the goal assessment, you've received your progress report, we then move through to the strategy development meeting. And that is the more technical component of the strategic review. And it's really diving into, what strategic changes do we need to make to match those goals that you've set? How can we pivot your strategy? Do we even need to pivot your strategy? Perhaps it's really aligned already to what you're driving towards. Sorry, Glenn, were you going to jump in there?
Yeah, no, it's just a really good call out. And I think if I reflect on the various programs, for our foundation members, given that we are having that strategic review on an annualized basis, we've got to review everything, right? Like, circumstances, from what we've observed, circumstances change all the time. So pay rises, bonuses, I'm pregnant, I've sold a house, I bought a house. So that strategy development session for our foundation members needs to be all inclusive, whereas for our plus and our premium members, it's more based on kind of what's changed over maybe that six month or 3 month period.
Yeah, spot on, more tailored, more direct, and more about what's sort of currently happening at that moment. Um, Obviously, off the back of your strategy development meeting, we will then give you that formal advice. So you all would have seen the 50 to 100-page document that you receive outlining the advice that we're giving you. And that will really formulate the strategy. It'll articulate the strategy to you before we
Mm.
move to implementation. And our team, as you all know, take care of the implementation for you in full. Are there any questions about that process? I'm not
Mm.
seeing any come through in the chat.
So our
Um,
internal, so inside scoop for you all, our internal word for this year is clarity. So, we've had feedback, oh, I'm not sure when I'm next meeting with my advisor, I'm not sure what happens next. And as we shared with you in the chat, each and every one of you are going to receive, if you haven't already, a call to book in that goal assessment. And that might be now, that might be in a couple of months' time, but we want to make sure that each of you know exactly when you're going to have that next touch point with us for the full strategic review. And again, touching on the various programs for our foundation members, it'll be on their anniversary date. So when they signed up to join the Fox and Hare crew, it'll be 12 months from then. For our plus members, it'll be essentially every 6 months, and acknowledging the fact that this experience can go over probably a couple of months. We have the goal assessment, we're sending the progress report, getting the feedback, having that strategy development session, delivering the advice and then implementing. That naturally may take anywhere between kind of 2 to 3 months, depending on the actual advice itself. So yeah, worth calling that out as well. Couple of questions coming through. So, Pat, so can we opt out of the events as part of our package and instead include more on-demand advice? Really great question. So scroll up to the programs for us, if you could, Liam, so the various programs. So one of the key, being really transparent, one of the challenges that we had with the previous program was for those members that were reaching out all the time, we were delivering, bespoke, tailored advice on an ongoing basis, which was inhibiting us to then provide the support that we should have been to then our plus and premium members. So what we wanted to do was make sure that it was really clear for all of our members exactly what they were getting for each of the programs. Now, and sorry, Liam, if you could scroll up to the programs for me, what you'll notice is some of these different components are going to resonate. So, for example, you might be so referencing your comment, Pat. So you might go, "Yeah, the foundation program looks good, but or I'm on the plus program, but all looks really good. I want to be catching up, having those two strategic reviews. I'm interested in that more in-depth analysis. I've got employee shares, etc." But the in-person events isn't something that's relevant. The reality is those three programs, the idea is you pick the one based on what's included and the one that you feel you're going to get the most value out of. So as an example, we have a number of members that are on the premium program. They don't have trust or company, self-managed super funds, etc. But they really value that on-demand regular advice. So they're meeting with us on a quarterly basis for that specific advice. We may have other members that really value, just catching up on that one basis, but actually do want to come to those in-person events. So then they subsequently choose the Plus program to get access to it. So it's kind of a pick your own path. So the one that you're going to get the most value from, and that's what's included in that particular program.
What we should
Sure.
mention just on the events before we go to Sean is all of you are grandfathered into events. So any new foundation members joining Fox and Hare will get access to, scroll up for me, Leo. will get access to our webinars and our community group, which is launching in May. You will all continue to have access and be invited to those events. So we have a question from Sean. What happens if a strategy session is needed outside of review? We fully expect this to happen. As Glenn sort of spoke about, circumstances change all the time. So if you've had your strategic review, you are more than welcome to move up a package, have another strategic review, and after 12 months, move back down. You can also catch up. So if you don't feel as though you need your strategy development meeting at the time it's set and you decide not to opt in at that particular moment, you can use it later in the year.
There was a question that also came through around regarding on-demand advice at the foundation level. Does that mean we can no longer have discussions about things like, I received a bonus, what do I do? Really good question. So I'm going to answer that through a legal lens. I can see there's a couple of lawyers on the call. So legally, any personal advice that we provide. So if we said, all right, you've got a bonus, invest it into this portfolio, we have to legally provide that in writing. And that needs to include all the T's and C's that goes along with that. However, if you were to have that conversation, I received a bonus and it was a general conversation. So you could put it in your portfolio, or you could put it in your offset account, or you could put it in a high interest savings account. And we just spoke to factually what are the pros and the cons of each of those considerations. And you make that decision on your own accord. That's what's legally termed as general advice, which you can still access at any time. So the strategic review is really that full analysis, written statement of advice is the outcome, and then us subsequently implementing that advice in terms of those questions that are being answered, giving you options, and then you end up making the decision on your own accord. That is general advice, which you'll all be able to access under those various programs. We might just touch on Leon's question first, and then I'll ask you to address Kate's. Loving these questions, by the way, guys. Like, this session is designed for you. Ask as many questions as you like. Don't worry about how challenging or not challenging they are. Leon, great question. So, is there a checklist of things to regularly update in the finance portal? So, in short, no. But what we are, and don't feel like you need to be going in there and regularly updating. I was only chatting to a member this morning, and they said, they've got a task in their diary once a month to go up and update their bank accounts and their expenses and things like that. You certainly can. We get notified when you do that, but you don't have to. What we do ask, however, is when you're about to have that goal assessment. So we're starting that strategic review, regardless of whether it's annual, biannual, or quarterly. Our ask is that you do go in, review your portal, and make sure it's as accurate as possible. So that's specifically focusing on income and expenses and making sure that the assets and liabilities are correctly noted, acknowledging that again will feed directly into the modelling and the advice that we put forward.
Beautiful. Kate, so you've asked, is there any strategy towards resolving the ongoing integration issues with data feeds? Yes, there is a lot of work happening in the background about that. We receive quite a bit of feedback from our members about the functionality of the portal, and we know there are lots of issues with the feeds and the connectivity there. So we've been working in the background with our portal provider, with our tech provider. We've looked at other providers that can connect in, and we are working really hard in the background to try and resolve that. As I'm sure you all know, tech projects are big and they take a long time to get right. And we want to make sure that when we do reset and we do sort of launch again into a better connecting opportunity, that it's right and that it sticks. So we definitely are. I anticipate that will come sort of mid to late this year.
Yeah. So at the moment, definitely, as you've noted, there are a number of major institutions that still we don't have that direct feed. Please do not waste your time updating it all the time. Our ask is that you only update that at the beginning of a strategic review so that we've got that most up-to-date data that then flows on to the goal assessment, the progress report that you'll receive, and naturally that strategy development conversation. So, bring it right down to kind of practicalities for someone on that foundation member. At this stage, there would only be that requirement to update that data on an annual basis.
Probably closely linked to that, we've got one of our anonymous attendees who's asked about the communications through the portal. So can
Mm,
sent across both partners. That is also something that we're working on. There's going to be a big uplift to the messaging system internally. That's just as frustrating because it means we have to send two messages. So yes, absolutely something that we're working on.
yeah, that is a high priority because we hear you. That is frustrating. So yeah, that's definitely on the top of the to-do list.
Similarly, David's asking about the message functionality in terms of, David, it sounds like you're wondering whether you have to log into the website every time or whether there's going to be a mobile app. So at
Mm,
the moment, you can save, I guess, sort of like an app. You can save the web page to your phone. You still need to log in, and it sort of operates similarly to an app, but it is web-based. The reason for this is security. Data security, especially when it comes to finance, is our number one priority as a business.
mm.
And when we explored this, we found that apps are a lot more prone to security risks than web-based browsers needing to log in. It is a little bit annoying, but I guarantee a security breach would be far more annoying. So yes and no, you can download it as sort of almost like an app to your phone. If you need instructions on how to do that, please reach out. I'm happy to send them out. You can also set up notifications so they pop up on your phone like an app, but you will need to log in and do your authentication every time.
Cool. Um, Olivia, we're catching up straight after this. Court's point around saving up a strategy session. So, really good question, Court. Can we do the reverse? So, ask to have an earlier session.
You can't. So you can push back, but you can't bring it forward. If you need an extra session, you would just move up a package temporarily.
And in terms of the questions, lots coming through. Matthew, will there be an update to the way a login request is processed, i.e., Face ID? Totally. So that is something that we are looking at. So and I appreciate that the messaging piece is something that a lot of our existing members have, I suppose, tried to get used to, and we do appreciate your patience with regards to that. We made the call actually not last year, the year before now, to move away from email. Purely based on data security. So we have an external data security consultant. We're very focused on this. This is an ongoing conversation for us, as I'm sure you can appreciate. And we did make the call to move away from email, but there definitely is functionality that needs to be updated. So the Face ID is a really good example and one that I'm keen for. But also as Court rightly noted as well, thinking about an app solution over website, which isn't currently in the works, but is certainly a consideration. Couple other questions, keep them coming. We've still got 10
About
minutes, so
5 minutes.
feel
Yeah.
free to keep sending them through. From a pricing perspective, so for our existing members, so for you on the pricing, we again want to make sure that these programs sit well with you. We're constantly seeking feedback. We've sent a lot of comms with regards to these programs over the last couple of the last month or so. For new members that come on, their pricing will be increasing. And has already, as at the 2nd of February, when these programs did go live. Adam, really good question around strategy session and receiving an SOA. So in terms of that time frame, the expectation is off the back of a strategy development session, you should receive that written statement of advice in 4 to 6 weeks. We are looking at ways in terms of how we can reduce that. My only caveat to that comment is we need to ensure that all the data that we have is as accurate as possible. So just reiterating my comment around the portal, we used to have spreadsheets, and in terms of the challenges with getting that data into the strategy document, we've moved away from that. But essentially, what you put in through the portal will directly feed into the statement, which is with the intention to continue to reduce those turnaround times. And we do have a much more aggressive turnaround time that we're working towards. But for the interest of this call and everyone on the call, it is at the moment, if you have a strategy development session, assuming that we're not waiting on anything from yourselves, the turnaround time is 4 to 6 weeks. However, just internally, we are very focused on reducing that, but just managing expectations, it is still currently that 4 to 6 weeks.
We've got a question from Anonymous. If there's the need to have a secondary or further strategy session during the year, but you're at Foundation or Plus, is there an ad hoc way to do this?
Great
There's not.
question.
So you would just move, you would essentially move up a package, and that would be your ad hoc fee. So you'd be paying the difference between the two packages, move up for the 12 months, and then obviously drop back down. So you could view that as an ad hoc fee, I suppose.
Yeah. So, and just to clarify that, so you'd move for that 12-month period, and then you could drop back down after that 12-month period. So in terms of the cost, if you're on Foundation, you're a couple, paying $440 per month. If you move up to the Plus program, it's an extra roughly $100 per month. So to have that additional strategic review, it'd be an extra $100 per month for that 12-month period. And just to be really clear, that strategic review would include the goal assessment, the progress report, the strategy development session, the actual advice itself, and the implementation. For that period that you're on the Plus program, you'd obviously also get access to the other components, including the additional advice areas, the more in-depth modeling, as well, the in-person events as an example. So got 5 minutes or so. So are the fees listed somewhere? Sorry, I couldn't see them, just the features. So your fees aren't changing. So for our existing members, they have not changed. If you would like to send us a message through for that came through from Anonymous, we can obviously share with you what the various fees are if you are interested at looking at the different programs. And perhaps that's probably a really good call out. We'll take that on note. Maybe it's worthwhile sharing with each of you what the fees are, so that you can make a conscious decision if you are on Foundation and you are looking for a higher level of engagement or more in-depth analysis from a modelling perspective, or would see value in those in-person events, which we have coming up next week. Then we can share that pricing with you. So we'll take that on as an action item. Really good call out.
We've still got a couple of minutes. Any other questions?
While people are thinking, Court, maybe we can round out with just sharing maybe some of the resources that we've already provided.
Yeah, that's a good point. Look, no doubt there'll be questions that sort of pop up into your mind after the session today. As you would have seen, we've sent out a lot of comms around this. We've sent out a frequently asked questions document, a transition guide that includes a bit of a glossary. So it explains what each of those components are, what the modeling is, sort of all the elements of the new packages. A difference guide between the current and the new packages. So it really clearly outlines what the changes are. An events calendar, so it'll show you when all of our webinars are, roughly when our in-person events will be. The VIP events aren't listed on there. They'll be curated throughout the year. Your personalized Fox and Hare calendar, so it'll let you know when your specific strategic review will take place or reviews will take place. And then an overview of all three packages. So you can see the difference between all three packages, which is roughly what we've gone through today. So plenty of resources there for you to draw on. Obviously, if you're uncertain about anything and you wanted to talk about this one-on-one, please don't hesitate to reach out. We're more than happy to do that.
And would in fact encourage it. Like we've spent a lot of time, listening, taking on your feedback, trying to curate 3 programs that would give each of you the best experience and meet you where you want to be met. So really encourage feedback. You're all going to get a phone call if you haven't already to book in that goal assessment around that strategic review. So feel free to give that feedback in the call itself, or send us a message via the portal, or always happy to go old school and just have a chat on the phone.
We do have just a few more questions have popped into the Q&A and the chat. So if you guys would like to jump in there and just take a look.
David, really quick one. Where are the documents you referred to located? They're in your portal. It sounds like perhaps you're having some problem with the messaging. So I might reach out to you after this webinar and see if we can catch up for 10 minutes to work through that, and I'll show you exactly where those documents are. Adam, you've asked which of the packages would you assist with conversations with an accountant on discussion for end of financial year tax strategies. So we look at tax with all of our members, whether you're on foundation, whether you're on premium. Tax is a constant discussion. It is a key part of our strategies. And whether you're having that conversation, August or June, there is still tax planning involved. Obviously, if your situation around tax is a bit more complex, for example, you run a business, you have a self-managed super fund, you will need more support with your tax position. And that's why we've included that in our more advanced packages. All right.
Cool. Awesome. Let's wrap it up there. So just wanted to say massive thank you for all taking the time to connect this afternoon. A lot of information. Really appreciate the questions. Really, really good questions. So this recording will be shared. So share it. So feel free to review in your own time and come back with any additional questions. But like I mentioned earlier, you'll each have or will receive a call over the next couple of weeks to book in that goal assessment. So feel free to ask any questions at that point, or shoot us a message. And again, happy to jump on a call. Thank you, everyone. Have a lovely afternoon.
Thank you so much, everyone. Bye.
Bye,
All the
guys.
best.
See you later. Bye.